Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. So today's talk does include notes based on a message that I received. And I'm looking at my notes and I didn't come up with like a title beforehand, but I'm thinking of a quote that one of my favorite readers says at the end of all her videos. And she says, "What breaks your heart fixes your vision." And so that message really sticks for both sides of this story. So we kind of have the message. We're going to be talking about a high priestess, but we're also going to be talking about the background noise in the life of the high priestess. Whether you have the connection with them or whether you've separated yourself from these people, but there are breakdowns happening. And so we're going to be revealing what those people are going through, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and how their actions actually propelled you forward. The pain that was caused to you by the people closest to you, they actually built your platform. Just instantly, I'm getting the story of Joseph. And so you could possibly be familiar with the biblical story of Joseph, but Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, and he was known as being his father's favorite son. And so the envy and the jealousy that dwelled in the hearts, the minds, the souls of his loved ones, what they felt towards him, really propelled them to act in evil ways against him. And so read the story, YouTube it, and just watch the Joseph. So this could be an anointing that's on your life, where you are born into a family of people who will never love you. They will reject you. They will be envious. They will be jealous. They'll want to keep you close just to make sure that your failures are consistent and just to measure their success. Some people only know to feel good when they see another feeling bad. And so this could be the type of climate that you were raised in and the type of people that you were connected to biologically, which is unfortunate. But what I'm seeing here is that all of the pain that they caused you, they were actually building the platform for which you are soon to stand on publicly. Okay, and so I'm just going to go through the notes, and then when I have moments of insight, I'll just kind of branch off and talk about them. And so my message to you to begin is be prepared to unleash the wild that lives within you, right? You may feel something churning and stewing and brewing within that you can't quite put your hand on. You're not quite sure of how to direct it or where to direct it. But there is an energy that is kind of stirring your soul, and you can feel it brewing. And even if you are unsure of what it will look like when it's unleashed, one of the best things that you can do is just to mentally prepare for what comes next without having the details. Talk to your soul, convince your mind, convince the cells in your body that what happens next is divinely designed. Everything will be okay, even if it's different and new, okay? Now, at times, you may doubt yourself. You may doubt your ability. You may question yourself. Others may have doubted you. And so sometimes when we live amongst people who have doubted us our entire life, that becomes the narrative of the inner voice in which we speak to ourselves, right? And so I want you to know that what you're feeling is true power, and it's a true source of energy. And you may not have been in this space before, so sometimes the unfamiliar can be a little scary. But I want you to know that this is your destiny, and this is the moment that is a part of your calling. This is that next step. You've taken step by step by step. And if you were to look backwards, you could probably agree that every step was a little more uncomfortable than the last one. But then guess what? You settle into it, you get used to it, but the steps don't stop, right? We are always required to keep going. And so as you take these steps, as the power within you is building, the family that you are attached to, or the people closest to you that could be considered family, they are in some kind of mental prison about your healing and your recovery. So these people are well aware of what you've been through because it was by way of their hands and hearts that the pitfalls were set up for you. Please look at the story of Joseph. And so let me talk about Joseph. He had his father's love. He was his father's favorite. Now, I don't want you to immediately think, well, I wasn't my father's favorite or I wasn't my mother's favorite. I want you to consider not your earthly father, but your divine father, the spiritual mother, God. I want you to consider that sometimes people can see the favor and the anointing that God has put on you, and that triggers them, right? And so you could have been the black sheep, the scapegoat, the outcast of your earthly family, but it was your divine family that had placed you in a position of significance just based on the energy signature that you possess, the character of your soul, who you are at your core, something that you can never hide. And so it makes you a target. And if you are full of light, divine light, then know that darkness is going to be attracted to you. You are the beacon, and they may come to you to harm you, but in the end, it is through you that they will be convicted and kind of go through their own journey and dark night of the soul, right? You are the catalyst to their healing, to their growth. And so I'm seeing that the family that we were mentioning, it was under some type of an illusion to think that you would be their source of money, fantasies, and forward movement. And so these people see someone like you and they're like, oh, I know what to do with you. I can use you to get that, to get that, to get that, to do this, right? And that's in their own low vibrational mind. They don't have the ability to think big enough, to think large enough, because they don't hold the capacity of the divine within them. And so they can only think earthly. They can only think earthly. I know how to use you. And if you are somebody that doesn't prioritize worldly objects, they could, be like, you got all this energy and you're just doing nothing with it. But the reality is that you are their teacher. You are the hierophant. You are the high priestess in that family. And so people most times are going to get you wrong until the very end. And they're going to realize that they actually walked into a trap. Another reader that I just love, she mentioned that, once you step into the energy of a high priestess, so you know how typically people are sent into your life to rob, kill, steal, destroy, to slow you down from ever being able to build and to be able to come what God has intended you to be. But what people don't understand is that God has put gifts inside of you. And so when you step into the energy of a high priestess, it's almost like walking into a police station, because the surveillance system that you were made with is sending off alarms, and you are reading people, you are hearing what they're saying, you're hearing what they're not saying, you're watching, and they will never understand the depths at which your intuition works. They will never they can't comprehend. And so to see you go through these remarkable changes and to see you prepare to make great strides, which is almost going to appear overnight, these people are flabbergasted and they're overwhelmed with stupidity. And there is going to be regret, remorse, and shame, but those are the necessary feelings that convict us to become better spirits and souls. And so you, in this situation, at this moment, are being guided to ground and to stay rooted in your personal creativity. So no matter what's going on around you, no matter what the known and the unknown, the energy can be a little murky and it can be chaotic and unstable. And so the way that you are being asked to create stability in your life while these energy shifts and fluctuations are taking place is to commit consistently to your personal creativity. So we're talking about the energy of Leo. Think about your 5th house. This is where you serve yourself. This is the house of children, creativity, romance, good fortune, sex, and fun and pleasure. This is where you go to fill your own cup. And so if you are familiar with your astrological chart, see which planet is in your 5th house so that you can better understand how to fill your own cup during the times where things seem to be unstable, okay? Now, there is this energy of this King of Wands, and so this person is almost having a public temper tantrum. Now, let's just talk about the energy of King of Wands. This is a masculine figure who is known to be boastful and attractive and captivating, alluring, right? And they seem to possess just this. When we're talking about the wand, we are talking about kind of the energy of the male sex organ, but it's just like, it's a symbol of power. It's almost like they have magic. And some of them do throw around their wand to pull people in. But nonetheless, this is like somebody who has a spirit about them where they see something and they achieve it. They have the ability, they're an owner, a leader, an entrepreneur, right? Now, this person who thought that because their life looked a certain way, they thought that they had favor, but the favor that they acquired, it was worldly favor. It was favor that had an expiration date. It was not favor that was seeded in them from the divine. And I often want you to consider, when you see people of power and wealth, I want you to consider, how did they obtain it? Sometimes many people, the NPCs of life, the non-playable characters, they're followers and they don't think independently. And so we tend to follow the trends. We follow the famous, right? Because they have something that is drawing us in. But people that are a high priestess or a high priest or a hierophant that are spiritually designed know better than to follow the carnal the carnal ways of we know that not everything, all money ain't good money. All money ain't good money, right? Nonetheless, this King of Wands is furious at your level of grace and relaxation. So not only have you been put through the ringer and dragged through the mud, right? And you may not have gotten to your point of elevation after all that you've endured, but you got the nerve to sit there relaxed and poised while shit is falling apart in the lives of those that were determined to break your entire existence apart, right? And so the pain that you have endured, I know what I'm going to call this reading. The pain that you endured taught you wisdom, and it triggered your vision, and it triggered your inspiration. You were filled with darkness, and it shattered you to the point that you could do nothing but find the light. You could do nothing but find the light. I read something just last night, and it said, do you know how much chaos it took to be this calm? That's what I'm going to call this, something along the lines. The calmness is a result. The calmness that you possess right now is a result of the chaos. And so these people too have the ability to get to your peace and calm, but they're going to have to go through the same chaos that they hand-fed you, right? And so another thing to consider, when you get to this space of peace and calm and serenity, this is when you start to call in your soulmates. This is when you start to call in your soul tribe. It's because you are finally at the frequency where you're emitting this divine sound, and those that possess that same frequency and sound are going to respond to you. You're going to cross paths with them in public. You're going to comment on their videos if they're going to comment it. But this is where we start to get closer and we start to build our tribe. Now, you'll have to explain and talk back to me, but at some point there was a divorce, causing a divorce for you as the high priestess. So when we're talking about causing a divorce, something in your life was taken away from you. Something was severed. Now, it could have been an actual relationship between you and another that was divinely destined for you. And if it wasn't that, at the moment when you, as the high priestess, divorced from your family, it's almost like you repossessed all of your mystic power that they were able to harness, right? You just repossessed it. You took it back. And so now the family is going through natural disasters and frustrations, and are at a risk for survival. Now, when we're talking about survival, the way in which they were accustomed to living off of your grace is going to be, they're going to have to figure out a new way to live. But people who live predominantly out of ego are never prepared to be able to handle devastation in the way that a light one can. Right? Because we didn't build ourselves up on worldly things. And so when we start to go through changes and shifts and things are taken away from us, we kind of know that those things may have been sentimental, but they weren't a direct reflection of our value and our personal worth. And so this King of Wands, the platform that he once stood on, he's starting to quit something, or he has been rejected, or he is awakening to the fact that the obstacles that they are facing are due to the emotional healing that you as the high priestess have achieved. So the stronger you get, the weaker their environment becomes, because their environment was built off of your weakness. If you were weak, they were strong. And guess what? We have to do that vice versa. Now that you are becoming strong, they are becoming weak. You are literally pulling your power back. Now, there is a magician who is a part of this group who has lost clarity. And I'm assuming that he or she has lost clarity of being able to peer into your life, to be able to see the situation, to be able to predict what's going to happen next. They're no longer able to read your energy. And so this is All Things Fall Apart. Isn't that a book by an author named Chinua Achebe? I think I read that in 8th grade. All Things Fall Apart. That is also a good title for this. But nonetheless, the magician that was a part of this has lost clarity of the situation and is now feeling sorrowful for the damage that was caused to this high priestess. I think being a magician is dangerous work. I would almost prefer to be, I guess, someone that pours into people and empowers people to do their own bidding, as opposed to being the person that is paid to do the bidding of another. Because people lie. And people could have slandered you, gossiped, and said a whole bunch of stuff about you. But at the same time, people have deep pockets. And when your pockets are deep enough, some magicians may not give a damn if the person that they're doing this work on is divine or not. They are more concerned and pleased with the fact that they were just paid a substantial amount of money to do what they know how to do, right? And so in this situation, it is even impacting the people that may have never crossed paths with you, never have known you directly, but they were definitely involved based on the amount of work that they put into the situation on the behalf of the people that told them something about you. So essentially, high priestess, when you step into your arena, when you step into your role, when you step into your calling, it is in those moments where you are calling judgment. When you answer the call, it shifts everybody that's attached to you, everybody that has connected to you in some way. It's almost like, imagine that you're buried under the dirt. You stand up and all the dirt falls off. Well, the family and the friends and the people that were covering your divinity, that were blocking your light from being seen by the world, all of that kind of has to slip away. And so simply by going through a deep transformation, you have potentially ended a cycle that could have lasted anywhere from 12 to 15 years. This is ending, and transformation and power, rebirth and evolution is right now at the forefront of this situation. Now, High Priestess, you have shed your old skin. You have shed your own skin, and this is causing an ego death to the self-esteem and to the self-worth for those that have been removed from your energy. So when you stand up and all the things that are not divinely supposed to be attached to you start to fall away, they too go through a death. They too go through a form of judgment, transformation, and evolution, but it's almost forced. Right? And so that's why you are so pivotal. That's why you are a beacon. Because when you wake up just being the one soul and individual that you are, it impacts hundreds around you who were all attached to you for the wrong reason. But in the end, it was the right reason based on the plan, the intention, and the vision of God. Now, at some point, the plans and the schemes that were being organized, these are going to be revealed. They are no longer going to be hidden, right? So when you stand up out of the dirt, all things that were once unseen are now going to be known. And so essentially balance is bringing all things to light that were once hidden. Restoration is happening. At some point, this magician, who was, like we mentioned, possibly paid and contracted, they were too arrogant. They were too arrogant in the beginning to believe that this high priestess had the ability to make the proper judgment and to follow their own bliss. Some people have so much belief in their self and in their work to the point that they think they develop a God complex. And so lacking humility is a sure way to get fucked up. And so that's what I'm seeing here. This is a group of people that are being humbled. And you have been through 12 to 15 years of forced lessons in humility, sanctioned by these people who just wouldn't let you be great. They just wouldn't let you be great. And so now we're seeing this cycle of time ending and a new cycle beginning. And so those that were on the bottom are now coming to the top. I was going to mention something. What do they say? The first shall be last and the last shall be first. And so if you just spent the past 12 to 15 years being in last place, not because that is genuinely, divinely who you were or what you were worth, I want you to know that the cycle is switching now. And so those that we thought were prominent and prosperous, we're about to see these people drop down quite a few notches internally. In their emotional space, in their mental space, they're going to have to be comfortable with the version of themselves that they are now going to have to live in physically, right? They're going to have to learn how to adjust in a life where they no longer have access to divine power. Who are you when you are not a thief? Who are you when you're not lying? And now these people are going to have to develop true characters as opposed to profiting off of the genuine character of another that they slandered and God knows what else, right? And so, High Priestess, in case you didn't know, you have moved beyond your ancestral patterns. And so that's what makes me think that many of the people that are going through these major shifts are going to be family members, right? And I'm sure many of us has heard it was a generational curse until it got to me, right? And so this is the cross you bear as the curse breaker, as the light being, right? And so once you move beyond an ancestral pattern, those that flourished and thrived in that pattern, they're going to have to break away from that too. And so you are now in a position, because you've moved past a pattern, to receive a promotion. It's almost like you are in an alliance with your ancestors to break these patterns. And once you get to a certain point, now you're elevated. And it is because of your trust. It is because you value trust, truth, and honesty that you have gotten to this space. Something about this high priestess can't be duplicated. And so you can't be found anywhere else. And so you can't be replaced. right? And something about you, something that exists in you, cannot be found in another family member. This is what you came here to do. And this is, collectively as a family, a familial union, this has got to be uncomfortable. Like, nobody wants this to happen. And sometimes, it's easier to see one person get dragged as opposed to a whole group going through changes. But this is the reality of the situation, and this is how generational curses are broken. It starts with a family trying to break one, and then when that one person responds to whatever it is that they are supposed to do or become in this life, it sets off a chain reaction. There's that recoil, and it kind of reverberates through the bloodline. And it rids doors that have been left open to dark entities, to dark behaviors, and to demonic ties that ravaged families. So I'm thinking that what they most wanted was to steal your intuitive gifts. You're coming up as a Queen of Cups, so somebody that's very loving, somebody that has no problem putting themselves last. It fills your cup just to know that others are happy, even if it means you have to go without. And being a Queen of Cups, somebody that's very intuitive, you are emotionally balanced. You're an empath. You're possibly psychic. You can feel, see, and sense the emotional states of others. And so whatever you have to do to adapt your own vessel in order to accommodate and to bring comfort to another, you are totally willing to do that. You also are an intuitive dreamer. So now this is taking me into the Daniel anointing. Daniel had the ability to read what was happening in the spiritual world and to decode it as it was being reflected in the physical world, right? And so you have the potential to decode spiritual things and to see how they are playing out physically. You also can take things out of the spiritual world and directly manifest them into the physical world. You are a conduit. You have one foot in the physical world and you have one foot in the spiritual world. And this is why you were the greatest candidate for that to happen. Because you never left God. No matter what you went through, no matter what you endured, you never gave up on the divinity that was alive in you. And so as an intuitive dreamer, you have the ability to bring dreams into the physical world. And so the dream that you are bringing right now is a dream of a cleansing, a purging, a purification of familial trauma and all the different ways that played out. And so I'm hoping this reading, this message was beneficial, and kudos, congratulations, and good luck to you. I'll see you on the next one.